Hello and welcome to the American Sim Network. We are ready to go racing tonight here from the World Center of Racing. I'm Matt Egan, joined by Jacob Young. How you doing tonight, Jacob?
I'm doing fantastic, ready to watch some racing here from Daytona. It couldn't get any better than this. The opening race for these drivers. It's a full field tonight as well, so just looking forward to it.
Yeah, new season is upon us here. We watching these cars roll off here for pace laps, and I don't know why it's going so slow and glitchy for me for a moment. There we go. We had it. I don't know what's going on there. I guess it's trading paint's trying to get itself situated. There we go. So cars rolling around on track right now, getting ready for the drop of the all-important green flag here. Now, what do you expect from this race tonight, Jacob?
Well, I expect an early caution for sure. Drivers feeling each other out, seeing how much they can bump draft. Now, we saw it especially in their clash, how these engines can overheat so fast as well, so they'll have to look out for that, especially early. They don't want to stay behind someone's bumper as close as possible because they still want that air to go through the radiator, so that's going to be a big thing. You probably won't see a lot of pit stops that will last a long time due to just they want to get fuel. So hopefully we can go green flag pit stops in this race, but other than that, I expect a really great racing.
Yeah, without a doubt, as the pace car's down, and you know what that means, green flag, the season is underway, and it is Tommy Ryan leading us down to the all-important green flag. I'll let you get the first lap here, Jacob.
Sounds great. As they head into turn one, the low line seems to be the key, but there are at least 3 drivers on that outside line trying to make something work early in this one, especially. Even if you start up front, sometimes you want to drop back, but it seems like both lines are staying in place, especially that outside lane being very impressive, able to squeeze down in front of the 66 car. I'll get you their name real quickly. That's Tommy Ryan. So Ryan able to, well, just let them by, and everyone will single file into this first lap.
Yeah, that is for sure. Single file as they go to the start-finish line. It looks like Surfs will lead the first lap of the season now. And they go single file very quickly here at Daytona. And, you know, I'm not surprised by that. You see that with these Cup cars. These drivers, these cars run good in a line. They want to be in a single file line. These cars don't push that great. I mean, they do. You can get that kind of bump run. And we've seen it in the real world, but it'll take a little while for iRacing to get that package on iRacing. It'll probably come in about 2 or so weeks from now, but by then we'll be done and over with Daytona. So right now, you're going to want these guys to be running single file, and that's what you see them go and do right at the moment.
Exactly. And continuing on that package talk, you say, yes, in 2 or so weeks, we'll get that new package. The big thing is, of course, they'll be able to bump draft kind of back on the back straight of, well, California at Auto Club Speedway. That's a long racetrack as well that they might use some drafting. It's always very fun. I think iRacing kind of messes with the packages and makes it even more fun for the drivers as well who race on this. So I'm looking forward to that new package as well. But of course for tonight, looking pretty well. Now we got a line on that outside row, and that should be an interesting turn of events coming later into this race.
Yeah, that is for sure. And you can see as they run side by side, looks like the outside line is Daniel Falkingham, and it looks like he's got Gattina behind him, and on the inside, I think that's Gerald West down in that 86 car. And the first caution flag is out. And who was that? I think that was, oh, that's Ryan. Oh, it's a big one, Jacob. You look at that here. What happened here? Looks like Comstock might have got into the 63, and he did. Ryan got a piece of it. Cristiano got a piece of it. The 87 there, I'm not sure who's in that 87. Bonwell. Josh Bonwell got a piece of it. That's a big crash to see so early on in the race here tonight. 120 laps of racing here, the Daytona 300. And already a lot of cars torn up. Matt Strayer's in it. What's your assessment on that one there, Jacob?
Well, pretty interesting. I mean, looking at one of the drivers, I believe that's Bertil Surfs, he has a lot of front end damage, basically. And looking back at this replay, just looks like it was some bad luck. And like I said, early bump drafting kind of going wrong, and expected this early caution for sure.
Yeah, I can't say I was too surprised by it. With the crash there, it was, you know, you have that happen here at Daytona. You have those early incidents come out every once in a while. You see that happen, and unfortunately, that's what happened at the beginning of this race. Now, do you think that's going to kind of set the tone for the rest of the night here, or do you think they're kind of get past that real fast and keep it mostly clean? You see 35 drivers, 37 rather, full field on track. Trey Bass, your 40th car.
I think they can keep it clean from here on out. Like I said, an early caution, and we'll probably get to green flag pit stops after in this next run when we go back racing. I, of course, expect, as always, from every single league that's out here, high, well, just they're able to run really well in the long run. What I'm saying is just more laps completed. And so, yeah, I expect them to go back racing, and we'll just race really hard against each other, but clean.
Yeah, right now it looks like Tommy Ryan spending extra time on pit lane. I don't know if he had a penalty or something go wrong, but Gerald West going to come out, Falkingham, then Burnett, and Dudley. Comstock brings up 5th. Well, let's page David Comstock, driver of that number 42 machine right now, currently in 5th position. And we'll get a word. He's driving for team name David Comstock, if you got a copy on us.
Yeah, we got you. How's it going?
Well, you are currently running in the 5th position. What's your impression of the race so far, my man?
Well, the race is good. Just people need a whole line. That's about it.
Now, how's that car handling for you here tonight? Those cars, are they pushing well? Like, you know, what's the general consensus on that after practice and the early going in this race?
Well, based off how we ran last week, it kind of freed up a little bit going into the corners. We didn't get enough laps here, obviously, to really get a judgment on that. So my assumption is that it's going to free up as we go, a little, at least into the corner. And then just however somebody's pushing you will affect that one way or another. So it just, you know, it just gets the laps under our belt, and just make sure everybody's able to, you know, run clean, run smooth, and hold their lines, and we should be all set.
All right, 120 laps of racing here tonight, and final question for you here. A little bit longer than half the distance of the real Daytona 500. What is your strategy here for this whole race?
Well, obviously, you don't want to get yourself caught up in anything that takes you out. We do have one quick repair with these, so you kind of get a reset in a sense, but you don't want to use that early. So I did get a little bit of damage from when the 63 came back down on my nose, so I chose not to get that quick repair done because the damage wasn't significant enough for me where I felt it was needed. So you don't want to use it, but it's there in case if we need to. But ideally, I don't want to use it, and just try to just survive and make it to the end and be there when it counts.
All right, well, thank you for talking to us, man. Good luck in the rest of the race.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
And once again, ladies and gentlemen, that was David Comstock, one of the many drivers we'll be checking in with throughout the course of the night. A lot of drivers here, a lot of names, a lot of people to talk to. And we'll check in with at least one driver each caution. Looks like Randy Yoakum, that number 8 machine, he's got a little bit of damage already. See Josh Bonwell's mom out in the chat tonight. I hope you're doing well. Bonwell, yeah, he was caught up in that wreck, but that 87 car back out on track. Looks like he'll be A-okay at the moment as they double him up, or get ready to double him up for one to go. And yeah, they'll double them up right now. So Jacob, what do you expect here for this next run?
Expect a good long run, and just both drivers really, well, both lines also coming into play a bit. We'll see some drivers decide to go on the outside and a lot of low line drivers, and I think the inside will have a great restart here, and well, I think we'll just go from there.
It should be pretty interesting to watch how it all plays out. We're going to ride on board with the driver we just talked to for this interview. We'll be on board with David Comstock, number 42 machine. Now, you noticed these drivers on track tonight, right, Jacob? Who's your pick to win it? You know, we saw Speed Weeks, and we got a good idea for how these guys race. So who's your go-to super speedway man?
Go-to super speedway man? Well, of course, as we all know, it's a super speedway, so anyone can really win. But I'm going to have to go with, I think, Jeffrey Ford has put himself in a good position, and he is, well, he'll just be ready to attack when needed to. There's still plenty of laps remaining, so we never know who we'll see in front at the end of this one. But I think Jeffrey Ford, sitting in about 10th place, he's in a good position to continue it on and maybe make a move to the front later on.
Yeah, without a doubt, good pick there. I think Josh Parker, a pretty good pick if, you see him towards the front when it counts at the end of the race. And Ricky Harden, another good one as well. Pace car down. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. 9 laps into this race. Race just getting underway here, so if you're just joining in, don't worry, you're not missing too much of the action just yet. Already had one big crash though, and right now on board with the number 42 car as he rides in 2nd place. Just ahead of him, Gerald West, and just behind him, Ed Burrow, as we ride outboard of David Comstock now. And you see that 21 Ford Mustang looking close up to him at the moment. And you see that outside line trying to peek out and form something. What do you think there? You think that outside line might get something going? It looks like the 49 car getting something there. Robert Dudley, he's got in tow Jeffrey Ford. Speaking
now,
of
I've been shocked early so far in this race because that outside line, even with 3 cars, has been able to kind of take off. So I would not be shocked if something does start to go on that outside, but a lot of them looking like they are trying to get back on that inside line, and it might just be a 2-car tandem on the outside with Robert Dudley leading it.
Yeah, for the moment it looked like it wanted to be a 2-car tandem anyway, and you speak about Jeff Ford out there with him. Ford's looking pretty good right now. Bonwell still on the bottom. Look at Comstock up the middle. Look at the 30 car, Brian Macklin. Macklin with a great run up the middle. And the 43, Doug Roth. And Jeffrey Ford going to be the lone man out right now. He's stuck on the high line. 11 laps into this race. Jeff Ford gets cycled back. Mind you, this race just starting.
Yeah, as long as you get cycled back, you just want to know that, well, you got to stay near the draft because these cars can really pick up that draft pretty quickly, and so that will help anybody that decides to drop to the back of the pack. I remember one time, this past Wednesday when I ran the Daytona 500, I got bumped into close to the infield, close to the entrance of pit lane, but I was still able to get back on the track legally, as in not in anyone's way, and still catch that draft right back. So very lucky there, but that's just what these cars are known for this package.
Yeah, these large spoilers really help these cars kind of get up. You know, it kind of creates a pocket of air and it lets you kind of suck up to the guy in front of you, which is good for the racing here. And you notice a little further back, Ed Williams Jr., the other STP car on track, he's trying to close into that lead group, and I don't think he's going to have any trouble doing it because he's going to have the Trans Service car, Chad Coleman, in the 38 right in front of him. And on top of that, you're just going to be able to get to him. He's got cars behind him, cars in front of him. I don't think he's going to have too much of a problem. He's got behind him Steve Ritter. Ritter's having a good race right now, being pushed by Daniel Falkenham. We were talking about him earlier. 44, Glenn Campbell and Chris Nadwing back there in the 63. Nadwerko, I'm sorry. And Glenn Campbell looking pretty good right there. The other Trans Service car. He's up on the high line right now, trying to make some ground. And, you know, it's interesting. The high line hasn't... It's been on and off. And that two-car tandem, you're starting to see these drivers. And for the longest time, we haven't seen them do it. Mostly because, you know, in the real world, you haven't been able to do it. So now in iRacing, you haven't been able to do it. And now we're starting to see it come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you mean. Yes, those two-car tandems, sometimes it just happens. A lot of drivers decide to dive down, and then it just becomes a two-car tandem, and then sometimes drivers get behind them. But it's interesting because it does help. It does help you just, well, keep up with the draft, make sure that you can catch them with, like we talked about, with how much of that air brings with the spoiler. And it's just really kind of this thing where you can continue and just be able to race nicely and not have to worry about the next car in front of you just being very slow or having a chance to get dumped all the way back to the back of the pack. So it's just a nice thing to see those two-car tandems kind of coming back together.
New leader, Robert Dudley, leading his first 5 laps of the evening now. That 49 machine, throwback to that Valve Line car, but not a Valve Line paint scheme on her. He's doing real good. Coming up on lap traffic there, that is the 89 Brian Wertman. And he'll go way high there, letting the lead pack by, and he'll try and pick up on him. The good thing there for Wertman, he will be the lucky dog car if they get a caution now, at least if he can maintain kind of where he is in the pack, you know?
Yeah, exactly. As long as you're, well, everyone, I mean, basically knows this. As long as you're the first car a lap down, you'll get that right back. But you don't want to lose any more ground, especially if you're him, because, well, you don't know, A, who's behind you, and B, it's going to be very difficult if you lose more ground to really catch back up to the field to stay in contention. Yeah,
he's going to have to contend with, I think, Trey Bass for that position, for that lucky dog spot. You notice Trey Bass, he is in a pack. He's with the 04 car, and he's with the 08. He's with the 8 car of Yoakum, the 04 of Sigmund and Wilco. So he's already in that pack, and he's able to maintain speed. Doesn't have a lot of damage either. And you go back to Wertman, who's got a decent bit of damage. He's got to fall in line. And on top of that, kind of got to hope that he can maintain speed with that pack and then hope for a caution. So he's got a lot of things riding on just getting that lucky dog and getting back to position. And unfortunately, where he's got the damage is right up on the back end too. So he's in a position where I don't think he's going to be able to maintain speed too well. But, you know, I've been surprised with these cars. These cars, especially now, they can take a lot more of a beating than they used to be, you know?
Yeah, exactly. They really can, especially on the back splitter. And that's been an impressive, I guess, design with these cars. And it's helped them be able to race. I mean, look at Eric Jones a week ago with his beat-up car in the front. He was able to win the Clash. So and iRacing kind of took that into effect even before we expected Eric Jones to win with the beat-up car. So that's something to think about.
Look at the 30 car right there. That's Brian Macklin Look at him. He's leading this race, or trying to lead this race. Can he get his first lap led? I think he will. Yes, he does. And, I mean, look at the back end of that car. It looks like someone took a sledgehammer and just beat it in until, you know, as far as you could go. And he's leading this thing right now. So these cars, you know, as we said, they take a lot more of a beating than they did 2 or 3 years ago with the low downforce package. And with that package where you had the littlest bit of damage and you were done. You would lose a lot of speed on just a little bit of damage. Now, high downforce, you take a little bit more of a beating, and you got guys like Macklin out there leading. I think that's good. I think these cars should be able to take damage.
Exactly. It's not fun when a favorite driver gets a little bit of damage and then isn't able to compete, basically. That's not the way that it should be, in my opinion. And this, with the cars taking the damage, no matter if it's a Toyota, Chevy, or Ford, it's just a nice thing where you can still compete even with that damage.
You notice these leaders, you look at what they're trying here. You see they're trying to do these 2-car tandems, and it's very interesting to see. We haven't seen it in years, and it's back, and it's back in full force. Look at the 43 car. Of Doug Roth, and then you got the 39 of Falkenham behind him. They're running 2-car. Jeffrey Ford's up on the outside with Bonwell 2-car. They've been making that work. And no! Big crash. And driver we were just talking about being able to run with damage, unfortunately, is involved. Brian Macklin. And looks like Glenn Campbell getting a piece of that as well. Let's take a look at what happened here with Brian Macklin to set this off. And he was behind Roth, or in front of Roth. Looks like Roth might have gotten a little bit loose. And it was off to the proverbial races from there.
Yeah, exactly what you said there.
Roth got loose, and actually, no, it was the 49 car. And the 49 machine, that valve line throwback, who's in that car there?
Robert Dudley.
Okay, so Dudley there had an issue. Looks like he came up just a little bit. Looks like there might have been a little netcode contact. Comstock got a piece of it. Jeffrey Ford got through it clean. You see Glenn Campbell getting into it. Brian Wertman got a piece of it. We were just talking about him being the beneficiary of the lucky dog. Matt Strayer got a lot of damage in that. And it looks like the 21 car, I think, got a piece of it as well. Ed Burrow. And so Ed Burrow, Robert Dudley. Richard Beasley, I think, even might have gotten a little bit of a tag in that Tide machine. We'll take a look. Yep, he got it from the 21 car. So let's ride on board Richard Beasley now. So on board with the Tide car, this is Richard Beasley's perspective. And you know, he sees the wreck happen right in front of him. He goes low through the grass, and you notice he's almost completely clear of it, and 21 car just tags him. Just tags the right front. And unfortunately, the right front is still one of the parts of the race car you need to keep. And there's David Comstock. He got a piece of that as well. We'll ride on board Doug Roth. Doug Roth getting through that wreck, and Doug Roth was right behind Macklin when that wreck happened. And you can see Roth got loose, got into the 49, or 49 got into Roth, and it was kind of off to the races from there. One more onboard perspective. This time, we'll go on board the 49 machine, Robert Dudley. And you see Dudley just tags the back end of Macklin, and that's all that it takes to set off a chain reaction here at Daytona, or any of these super speedways. You get a very big crash out of a very small incident, you know?
Yeah, exactly. What will happen to the best of the drivers just with bad luck or anything like that, but you just can't have a ton of damage. You can have some damage, but just when you have more damage than it will just affect your aerodynamics no matter what.
So how about we talk to the one and only Josh Bonwell. He currently runs in first, started 24th position here tonight. We'll talk to Bonwell, get his position on the race if we can find him in the team speak. What room is he hiding out in? You see him here? He's above us. That's why I couldn't find him. Josh Bonwell, if you got a copy on me.
10-4.
Well, you got your biggest fan out there in the chat cheering you on, and I tell you what, she's happy you got through both those wrecks, and that both close calls. How's it been from your perspective?
Well, I did get caught up in that first wreck a little bit and had to use my fast repair, but I got pretty lucky in that last one, and hopefully we can run up front here and just kind of stay out of everything.
Now, just about 100 laps to go here. How's that car been handling for you this first 23?
It's got a lot of grip. I'm pretty good at keeping it stable, so I'm trying to keep it from walking all over the track, but it feels pretty good and secure.
Now, you have any guys you like to work with in particular at these races, or you kind of just work with whoever comes across your way?
I'm working with old Jeff Ford a little bit. I was going to run with him and see how he works. I ain't got a lot of familiar faces out here, so I'm just kind of running with people right now and seeing how everybody runs and if we go forward or backwards.
Now, I got one last question for you. I kind of want a driver's perspective on this because from our area in the booth, we've been noticing a little bit more of it. It looks like the two-car tandem, two-car tango, whatever you want to call it, looks like it's coming back into style. We've seen you and Jeff Ford trying it out. We saw Comstock trying it with the 30. And, you know, we've been seeing it kind of a little bit more and more. Have you noticed it at all this Speed Weeks? Or is it more of you guys just get these little bursts of energy than anything else?
I think it's a combination of the two. Two cars can definitely hang with a bigger pack up high or kind of down low when you get the third car and then you start going somewhere. But there is something to the two-car tandems again.
All right. You think that's good or bad? What's your angle there?
We'll see how I finish.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to us, man, and best of luck to you in the remainder of this race.
Hey, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Josh Bonwell, driver of the number 87. He's your leader on this restart. And, well, in his mind, two-car tandem's back just a little bit. Well, I mean, Jacob, what's your angle on it? Because, honestly, I like it. I like that we have the two-car tandem. I like that we have the pack drafting. I think they're both good, and I think they should both be options. Because two-car tandem, you kind of have the option. You work with who you want. It's less chances of having these big crashes. And that's good for the drivers because that's a less chance that you're going to get caught up in as collateral damage.
It is great, but of course, how are you going to make forward progress more than two cars? Of course, the two-car tandem, like you said, is great because you get to work with whoever you want, but at that same time, well, you're just not going to progress as much as possible unless you catch up to another car and another car and another car, or of course making it a bigger line. That's how I really see it in my opinion.
Well, we'll see how it all plays out now. Pace car down. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. 25 laps in. Bonwell got a great start there. And he's got Chad Coleman. We've seen Chad Coleman been very, very good on these super speedways. I got to say, if I had to pick a driver to win this race right now, I'm going to go with Chad Coleman. He's fast and he's consistent, you know?
Exactly. Coleman did impress me when they did the clash. He was a very impressive driver, not only with just, well, it looks like he's great everywhere, basically. He's one of the drivers to watch for this whole season, not just for Daytona, but of course, as long as you can stay out of trouble throughout this whole season, as well as, of course, this race, you have a big opportunity to try and win this one. Of course, some drivers, what they do, even if they get to start up front, they do tend or like to basically fall out of the draft, move to the back of the line, and just work their way up from there, especially since there's still so much time remaining in this race.
Well, you got the two tied cars up there on the top lane. Looked like they were working together for a second. That Mark Cretan and Richard Beasley, those two drivers, well, they were hooked up, and then it looked like Doug Roth, rather, got in between the two cars and said, you know what, I want to join the party. And then Beasley said, you know what, I want to go to the bottom line. And now Mark Cretan got to get in on the bottom behind Richard Beasley.
Yeah, that's something that we'll see throughout this whole entire night, or virtually daytime, because that's just, of course, you want to cool off your engine as well as just ride up, like you said, with someone that you know and that you feel comfortable drafting. But then, of course, when they go back to the inside line because they figure out that it's faster, then you really will just have to fall back in line, and that's normally what we'll see for the rest of this race.
Now, you want to talk about a driver real quick that is dedicated to win? Let's talk about Joey Gattina, league owner and driver, of course, of that number 14 machine. I've been talking to him all throughout Speed Weeks, and his goal here this week to win a race. I talked to him before the clash, and I said to him, what are you going to do tonight? He said, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to lead every lap, I'm going to win. Well, he may not have won the clash, he may not have won the duels, but you know what? We're running the biggest race of the 2 weeks now, and he is out in 7th place, right by the lead pack. He's got Thomas Cristiano, a great draft driver behind him. I've raced with Thomas before. I've broadcasted him a lot of times. Cristiano's a great driver. He's got Glenn Campbell. He's got Chad Coleman in front of him, and he's got Roth just slipping in line there. Doug Roth right in front of Glenn Campbell. So he's in good company, and you know Joey Gattina is a fast driver because while he may not have won yet, we have seen him up front all Speed Weeks. So I think there's another driver you want to watch out for. I'm going to say watch out for the 14 to sneak his way into victory lane. Current leader, though, Jeffrey Ford. And again, look at the two cars. They are forming not too big of a breakaway, not enough to where they're not getting a draft off David Comstock, but to where they're not, to where they're starting to have their own energy. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yes, there is a gap. There's about a 1 car length gap, in my opinion. You could really fit another NASCAR car right behind them. But that is still enough space for them to, well, for basically Comstock to get, or anyone behind them to get a run. So, as you can kind of tell, that 42 is kind of closing that gap up. But you look at it, and that's a fantastic, well, you want to break away just a bit, enough to where you feel like you can be comfortable with your own teammate for at least this race. And in this case, it is Josh Bonwell who's behind Jeffrey Ford.
Well, you want to talk about two cars trying to make something happen, you got to go all the way back to the 30 car. Brian Macklin, I'm sorry about the names, folks. I'll get him real soon. I'm terribly sorry about that. But Brian Macklin up there on the high line, he was running 2x2 car with, the 9 Bobby Weitzel behind him. So it was Macklin and Weitzel, and they were trying to make something happen. Now he's got the 21 car, Ed Burrow, in front of him now. So it'll be a 3-car group. So that'll be interesting to see. But for a little while, just those two guys on the outside line making forward progress.
Exactly, and that's a big thing, and glad to see the 30 car back out here racing, as he is, well, on that outside line, just like you said, another driver sneaking his way on that outside line too. A couple of 2-car tandems, and then of course a 3-car tandem still on this outside line, so that's very interesting to watch indeed.
1 car down on the bottom, I think that's Mark Cretan.
Exactly, he's got Cretan
she's falling back.
Inside, a couple of cars just falling back, and well, you don't like I said, you don't necessarily need to be in the front too much. Just take it as a bit of a Saturday night drive, and then just go for it at the end.
Yeah, look at Chris Natterwork. Again, I apologize about the name. I'll get that down by next week. But that 63 car, he's working with the 86 Gerald West. They're looking actually really good on the outside, and look at that. Again, that's a 2-car breakaway. They're trying to make something happen. They're turning into a 3-car breakaway kind of quickly. But, I really think the big takeaway from this race tonight is going to be that, hey, the 2-car tandem is coming back, and it's working. And look at the front of the field. Look at the 09, Bill Schoonover and Brian Macklin. They're running 2 cars. Now they got, who's that hopped in line behind them? The number 9 car, Wetzel. You got 3 cars there. They've been 2, 3, kind of hopping back and forth. But these small groups of cars are working a lot better than these big packs were, you know?
Exactly, and you kind of can notice that throughout this field, as well as the 38-44 doing that exact same thing. You're seeing a lot more separation than we're kind of used to seeing in these past years at the super speedways, to be exact, at Daytona at the moment, because we haven't gotten to Talladega yet, at least, and that will be sooner.
And that'll be well towards the end of the first half of this season, the end of this season, which ends at Martinsville, May 9th. Talladega's the third to last race. That's on April 25th. I'm really looking forward to going to Talladega and seeing what happens there, because I think that's going to tell us a lot about this 2-car tandem, because we're going to be a build into it. So iRacing will get the really, really up-to-date 2019 package on these cars, or 2020 package on these cars. And I think Talladega is going to tell us a lot about what this package is going to bring, and if that 2-car tandem is going to be a really viable option for that race, and then for Daytona in July. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, Daytona is still in July for at least 1 more year, if I'm not mistaken, and then it heads
or August.
August.
I'm so sorry. I'm so used to Daytona. No, it is in August now. Indianapolis is July. But I'm so used to, I'm so used to Daytona being that July 4th weekend. But yeah, so that'll be August. And I guess that'll be like the second season. But that, that'll tell us a lot for that. And look at the 86 car, Gerald West. He's just side drafting it. And look at the ground he's making on Roth, Wetzel, and Coleman. He's going for it in 1 car. I mean, you used to never see that. And now it's back. And it's absolutely amazing to see these guys able to make runs like that happen. And look, the 9 car is going to hop up there. And I tell you what, I think they might be able to challenge for the lead, those 2.
I really think so as well. It's crazy. Once again, we talk about it, those 2-car tandems. Now a couple of drivers going back on that outside. Still a bit of a gap. But that outside line coming back into play now, and that inside line kind of evaporating too. Now you got a 2-car draft once again
on the
that
bottom
low
now.
line too.
And they're far enough away from that 43 of Doug Roth to where that's not going to make a difference, to where they're not getting a draft from him or he's not getting a draft onto them. So Bonwell and Ford, they're making a 2-car tandem right there, and they're making it work. And if it feels like we're saying 2-car tandem a lot, I'm sorry, folks. But again, we have not seen racing like this on iRacing since, I'd say, 2013, 2014 is where we saw it go away on iRacing, whereas in real NASCAR kind of went away in 2012. So it's been a while on the sim. We had it a little bit longer than they had it in real life, but it's still been a while regardless.
Exactly. But we talk about the draft again, and look at that. The 43 car of Roth has caught up to the back of, Jeffrey Ford. And so now it's back to about a 4-car draft on that inside, and then on the outside, it's the same deal here.
Yeah, that outside line is what, that 1, 2, 3, 4, a whole bunch of cars on that outside lane. But you notice they're maintaining about a car length between each, and that 9 car, Wetzel, he's gonna try and get down there, and he got down there. He barely got down there. That could have gone wrong going across the nose of Roth there. I was watching that. That looked a little bit risky.
And he went back up to the outside lane too. That once again looked a little risky there, trying to make things work with the 86. I think that was their plan all along, was that he could try to get a run and overtake, Gerald West. And so since they can do that, they cool off their engine, trying to do the difference. And a nice job by the lap car to let them by.
1 car's very slow on the bottom. He don't got a front end. That's a 24 machine. Multiple laps down. That was Matt Strayer. And you remember, he got caught up in that wreck very early on, so it looks like he's just trying to make laps. 5 laps down, he is. You got to feel bad for him. Look at James Small, the 82 car. There's a driver we haven't talked about a lot tonight. And he started 9th place. He fell all the way back down to 37th, and he's climbed all the way back up to 9th. So you want to talk about a good night up and down? Look at James Small. Still a long way to go here tonight, but he's having a good run, wouldn't you say?
Exactly, and that's something that you can do. It's also a nice strategy indeed, especially if there's not a lot of wrecks coming in the back of the field, more up front, and that's kind of what the two cautions have been located, have been up front. So it's helped him gain more positions, gain back to basically up in the front of the field, in the top half of the field to be exact. As well, Small is just working his way in top 10 basically, in 10th place, and still plenty of time. Once again, plenty of time to make your way up front. There's still, well, yes, just about less than 100 laps to go, but still a long ways at Daytona.
Yeah, we've got exactly 81 to go, so still a long amount of racing left. And not to keep saying two-car tandem or new drafting or whatever, but I think the reason these guys can climb that much is because these cars, they draft better. It's easier to climb through the field than it was with the 2017 or 2018 package, or even last year's package. It's a little bit easier, and these cars can kind of make their way up through the field a little bit better than they could a few years ago.
Exactly. I say this year and last year's was, well, really the best with the drafting experience. Yes, last year's was more, there was more downforce at least, and, well, both lines basically would stall out side by side of each other. And so, like we said, those two car tandems, and just, there's been more passing for sure. And of course, as drivers, it's always exciting, and as spectators, that's a blast to watch as well.
I mean, look at Gerald West. He was all the way down to 38th. He's got himself back up to 5th, and he's done that in the span of about 10 or so laps, 10, 15 laps. So, I mean, he's climbing through the field too, and I think that's brilliant to see for these drivers to be able to do that, and I think that's all due to the way this new package drafts. And it's good to see, because, again, you go back to 2018 when you still had a low downforce package, 2017 too, and it was harder to do that. You could do it, but it took you a lot longer. You couldn't do it quickly. And that's kind of the big takeaway, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It was tougher, and now, of course, it's easier, as we've mentioned multiple times tonight. So it's going to be interesting to see if this continues throughout the whole race, because once again, that inside line, as the day progresses in the sim, it will be interesting to see if that inside line will get quicker. Normally it does, but with the outside line still being the way it is, as I believe we'll see. I checked that, I thought that we were on the front stretch, but either way, I think we'll see that inside line get even quicker, and that outside line kind of have to stall out and go to that inside line and try and push their hardest.
Yeah, here comes Doug Roth. Looks like he's got a great run coming to the race lead. He's being pushed by that 42 machine, and Doug Roth gonna lead this lap. Great run for that STP machine. And he'll jump down, leaving Comstock high and dry. And the 09 Bill Schoonover, he's all by him lonesome right there. He's got to find someone to work with. He doesn't want to fall back. And that's going to be the question, if he doesn't fall back or if he does fall back. What do you think? I think he's going to be able to pick up to the back end of Macklin.
Yeah, exactly. I think he'll be able to do exactly that if he does decide to drop back. Because once again, we talk about it, it's just how strong the draft is with this package.
Yeah, I think he's going to get some help here, because look at, here comes James Small and Richard Beasley, that 28 Tide car. They're on the outside. They look like they're coming up there, so that outside line's starting to form up. And, you know, we got a comment in the chat wondering what the pit strategy is. I think that's a good comment to make there. The pit strategy going to be pretty interesting to see how it plays out. We haven't had a lot of cautions. We've only had 2, and they kind of came back-to-back on each other. So everyone pitted very early around lap 20, and they've gone probably about 20 laps.
So on a full tank of fuel, if I'm not mistaken, you can go about 30 laps on these. Well, just on the fuel.
30 to 40.
Exactly, 30 to 40 laps. And if these drivers decide to pit a little early, then we'll see them pit a little early. But it all depends. What will happen is it all depends
contact!
on
We were just talking about no caution. Schoonover got into Beasley. Well, I think that's going to answer the question of pit strategy.
Well, we're still staying green, though.
How are we? How is that still green? This is... You got cars slow. You got big mess. That... Oh, man. Yeah, there's cars stopped on the apron. Brian Beach.
Cars on the apron.
Brian Beach.
There's your answer, but...
That should be a caution. He stopped there. He flipped over. I mean, these guys were going like 20 miles an hour. I don't know how that wasn't a caution. The 07, I mean, he was sideways down the corner. Richard Beasley got into the 09, I think Schoonover got loose, got into Beasley, got into the 07, into the 21. See Coleman going by. He slipped through it. Glenn Campbell got through it. Like I said, the 21, Ed Burrow, he got a little tiny piece of it. No caution, though. That's the most amazing thing. Look at the 36. The 36 got a lot of damage. That's Trey Bass. He's back on the lead lap. Beach is in his pit box. Well, you talk about how we were seeing 2-car tandems earlier. Now we're really going to see them because everyone's going to be so spread out. I feel bad for the 07 there. He completely missed his pit box. That is Bertel Surfs. He's going to have tires up, and he is in 37th place, unfortunately, and I got a feeling he's not going to be climbing much higher than that. And yeah, he retired that race car. I mean, you know, what happened there from your perspective there, Jacob?
Well, from my perspective there, it's just hard racing, I think. Nothing more than that, just both drivers really going for it. And sometimes you want to check up just to let your race car breathe, and then sometimes just things will happen, and sure enough, it did exactly that.
Yeah, you see Thomas Cristiano, the 56 got through it. Gerald West got through that. Gerald West started pretty high up and led early on here tonight. You got to remember that 86 car was doing very well earlier here tonight. And he's now a part of that lead group, but then you look back, and it is a distance between Small and then to Glenn Campbell, and it's a pretty significant distance between those drivers. And you have Richard Beasley, Chad Coleman, Wilco, Herring, Gattina in that group, and then you go to Ed Burrow all by his lonesome, Steven Ritter, Wessel, Dudley. These are all drivers that, 5 laps ago were contending for the race lead.
Exactly. Like you said, big names taken out early in this one. Of course, there are 50 laps into this race of 120, so yes, it is still early. It's almost midway, and so just talking about it it's just a very interesting turn of events.
Yeah, kind of surprising, though, that, again, there wasn't any caution there. You kind of think there would have been, but evidently not, as iRacing deemed no need. It's good for the leaders, though, because if you think about it, now they've got a pretty good handle on the front of the field. I mean, they'll be all out there by themselves now. those
exactly, and
top 5 cars.
And it will be interesting to see if they decide to, well, most likely will pit together. I think we might see maybe 2 cars stay out an extra lap longer than most of the group.
Yeah, I would have to imagine.
To go back to pit strategy basically for them since they didn't pit.
Yep.
We'll see if they can go maybe 20 or maybe even 30 more laps on the fuel load, and we'll see if they decide to take tires as well, because after about 50 laps, the tires really start to, well, you can feel it on the super speedway. Yes, you don't necessarily need tires here, but it becomes tougher to get out of pit lane, and it becomes tougher with a full tank of fuel.
Yeah, and you notice they're going single file now for the moment. That's letting Thomas Cristiano and James Small, Gerald West, letting all these guys catch up to him, which is good for them. Not too good for your leaders, because now that's going to be a little bit of a bigger lead pack at the moment. Still over 50 laps to go. A lot of ways to go here at Daytona Super Speedway. And you look here, look at Glenn Campbell, Chad Coleman. They're running 2 cars. Wilco and Beasley are 2. I mean, you know, you kind of go through, I guess the majority of them are going to be 2 cars. You have to go all the way back to 19th place with Ricky Hardin, Daniel Falkenham, Randy Yoakum, and this group here to find a big pack. And I don't think we're going to see these guys get hooked up in a big pack anymore unless we get another caution. And you know, that's got to be hard for Ricky Hardin at the moment, running 19th place, because he won his duel, you know? He won dual race number 2 last week.
Yeah, exactly. And caution is finally blown. But yes, it is very difficult, especially when you win your duel feeling that confident coming into this one. And then
it looks like not Bill Schoonover, Mark Cretan. So Mark Cretan, the 77. I believe something went wrong for him 54 laps into this race. What happened here? No, it was not, but he was a factor in it. The 45 of Brian Beach, he was exiting pit road. Oh, he got loose on the pit road exit. I've had that happen, and he slid, unfortunately, right back up into traffic. Cretan spins out on the apron, and I think either Beach's spin or Cretan's spin, one of the two, they triggered the caution. But probably about 5 or 6 laps late, there's the caution. And that takes that pretty much takes the entire lead pack strategy, just throws it out the window. I mean, anything the leaders were planning on for pit stops, anything like that, you can probably take it and just scrap it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Because everyone's going to get bunched up again. It's going to be a big pack. What do you think's going to happen here? Aside from the fact that, you know, everyone's going to pit.
Well, besides that, I think, well, we'll just have to wait and see. We'll see a restart, of course, but the interesting thing will be, well, where everyone stacks up, who will be where, and most likely we'll see more 2-car tandems and a lot of the same thing that we saw from this green flag run.
So, what is your expectation from the green flag? That's kind of the question there.
Expectation from the green flag, both drivers will, or just the whole field basically, they'll race a bit aggressively for sure. And, well, hopefully we'll go on another long green flag run. And my expectation is to see a long green flag run for sure, and just a lot of battling up front and even in the back of the field.
As everyone hits the pits, green flag pit stops underway here at the Daytona Super Speedway, and you can see most popular place to be right now on pit lane. As we'll watch them come in, service their cars. Who's going to come out first? Looks like Comstock, and then the 30 car, then it was Bonwell. So it was Markland, Bonwell would be your top 3 out of pit lane. So, what driver do you think we should dial up and get a word in with?
Good driver who has kind of come from the back of the field. I'd say 15, Ricky Harden. He is up top 10, up in 8th place.
That is a good pick. He is currently first. He started second. He fell back to 36th, and he won his duel. So let's dial up Ricky Harden, driver from Unacceptable Racing. Ricky, have you got a copy on us?
Yes, sir. How y'all doing?
We are doing great. How are you doing, man? You're back up in front, so I imagine pretty well.
Well, I'm only going to be up front for about 3 more seconds because I got to come to pit road and go take a leak and hang out at the back for a little while.
Hey, a lap lead is still a lap lead. How'd that car been handling for you here tonight?
Not bad. Just trying to stay out of trouble. You know, it's been a little bit chaotic today. So, unfortunately, I missed the start. I thought the race was starting a little bit later, and that kind of set my strategy for me. I was supposed to start up near the front, and that's what I wanted to do. And instead, I had to start near the rear, and thankfully, the cautions brought me back to it. So the Unacceptable Racing team is just kind of playing stay out of trouble right now for a little while. So that's our plan.
Not a bad strategy you have, but, well, I'll let you go because you say you got to take care of, you know. But real quick before I do, do you expect to win after winning your duel?
I do. That's the plan.
All right, well, thank you for talking to us, and good luck in the rest of the race.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ricky Harden, driver of the number 15 machine, as he goes and takes care of, shall we say, personal matters. Well, we'll be right back here on the American Sim Network. David Comstock, your race leader, Brian Macklin, Josh Bonwell, Doug Roth, and Jeff Ford, rounding out the rest of the top 5. We'll be right back. And we're back live here at Daytona. 1 lap to green. Well, Jacob, what do you expect to see on this restart?
Well, I expect to see that inside line once again take off the way that they did in that last restart and really just gain some momentum. Now, of course, that outside line, if, of course, a couple of cars or more than a couple of cars stay together on that outside line, they'll be able to gain traction a couple of seconds later, and I do expect really just that inside line to be that place to be at the start of this green flag run.
Well, we'll see how it all plays out. I'll let you get the green here.
All right, sounds good. Pace car rolling into pit lane now as we are back racing here at Daytona. Green flag back in the air here. What a nice restart from the 42 of David Comstock.
Yeah, drivers closing in on 50 laps to go. Still a long way here at Daytona Super Speedway. Comstock, Macklin, Bonwell, they all got a great start. Looks like Thomas Cristiano, the driver, lone man on the totem pole. He got stuck to the high line there. Not a good situation to be in.
Exactly, not a great situation to be stuck on that high line, but of course, like we said, or like I've said, and a couple of other drivers have said, well, sometimes you don't necessarily want to be up front. You want to stay out of trouble and hang back a bit, and, well, just run your race from the back, especially given how many laps are still left.
Yeah, he'll fall in line in front of Chad Coleman right behind Jeffrey Ford. So he's in a good place right now with some good drivers, but not the start he was probably visioning, being on that outside line, and everyone, and I mean just about everyone, dipped him. So not a good place, not a good start. Look at Steve Herring. He's having a great run there, that 98 car. He's come well up. He was running back there about 36th place for a long while.
Yeah, exactly. 36th place to up, well,
10th.
Up
yeah,
in a good position.
Back to where he started. He got right back to where he started from, and he's looking to go forward from there. But I tell you what, he is just, I love the way he's racing because he's going forward, and that's what you got to do. Look at Burrell. He was involved in the wreck earlier, and Burrell's moving up too. 21 machine.
A great, well, just the 21 machine doing a great job here, moving up the field in the top 10 right now. Of course, we'll see a lot of back and forth play, but for now,
James
just
Small
really in that top 10.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to hook up with James Small, then the 82, or the 86 rather. Gerald West going to try and get a piece of that action as well. So that's the question. These three cars, you think they're going to make a play at the front? Look at Beasley, Richard Beasley on that top line with them. They're making a high line happen. Thomas Cristiano says, hey, I want to be a part of this party, as does Josh Bonwell. So here comes the outside line. It's back. It took him a few laps, but it's back.
Yeah, exactly, as expected, a couple of laps to take them to form that outside line again, and it can work. You can really work on that outside line because you can side draft and really make your way back up front. But once again, we're seeing that two-car tandem, a bit of a gap right now, and, well, it's exactly what we've said has worked throughout this race, too.
I want to point out something that's really cool to see. Brian Macklin running up front, and the reason I want to point that out, he got the yellow stripes on the back end of that car. For rookie to Sim500 this season. Not a rookie to iRacing by any stretch of the means. He's got a 5,000 I rating and an A4.39 license rating, so he's been around the block once or twice and knows a thing or two, but a new driver to the league, and it's always good to see new talent running so well, you know?
Exactly, and that's what, well, I think that's what we'll see tomorrow in the real Daytona 500 as well as tonight. That's just, it keeps it interesting. It shows you how much, well, just how much these drivers get to race and practice, and it has helped with the release of the AI with the smaller release on the Daytona super speedways, so that they can just continue to run laps with driver scenarios basically, and, well, it can just prepare you for races like this and it has shown tonight that, look, he's here to compete for this championship. He's not going to be a rookie that will just stay back and be mediocre. Yeah. No, he wants that win.
Yeah, with that, and like I said, by no means is he a rookie to iRacing with a almost 5K I rating. He knows a thing or two, but a new driver to the league, and it's always cool to see when they do so well. Oh no, Jeff Ford is around. What a save. Did he? Oh, I spoke way too soon. Oh, mama. Yeah, that's big. So it looks like Jeff Ford, he came down, tried to get in. He probably thought he was clear of Comstock. Got Doug Roth in it, got the 63 involved. The 98 car, that is, Haring got a piece of it.
West was technically involved, too.
Gerald West got a piece of it. Oh, man, look at the 40. That's a junkyard right there. Joey Gattina, Wilco. It looks like Falkenham got a piece of it. We'll ride on board with Falkenham, see what happened to him. And you can see, he sees the wreck in front of him, and yeah, nothing he can do. Man, you want to talk about an unfortunate situation. Just look at the bottom there. 62 machine got a piece of that. That's John Wilco. We'll ride on board John Wilco's car here and see, see from his perspective what happened. You can see down on the bottom, he sees the wreck, gets off the gas, and just looks like he got loose trying to get off the gas, or he might have got hit from behind. I'm not entirely certain, but you see Joey Gattina just barely got a piece of it. But just enough. As they say, you never want to be involved in the big one, but there it is. There's quite a few drivers that were, and I hate to say it, but I think that's quite a few drivers whose fast repair probably has already been used up. We'll take it to our first and, our second caution cam of the evening. Chad Coleman goes down pit lane as the race leader. Does he exit as the race leader? That's going to be the question. We'll watch the race off pit lane. I'm going to go with no. Comstock wins. Who comes out second? It's going to be a drag race. Bonwell and Cristiano. I think Cristiano had him. So let's get a word in. Thomas Cristiano in fourth place. If you see him, yes, I do. Thomas Cristiano, have you got a copy on us?
Hey there, Matt. How you doing?
I am doing great. How are you, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good.
Well, you're running fourth. You started 21st, and the lowest you've been is 33rd. So you've been up front, in the middle, and in the back. You've been everywhere there is to be on this racetrack. What's your perspective of it?
Well, you know, I was figuring I was going to try to start in the back and keep my way in the back, and then I saw a bunch of stuff going on, and maybe I figured I'd try to keep it clean up front and have a good race up here. Just trying to keep it clean, that's all.
Hey, that's the goal. Now, how's these cars been drafting? Do you like the way they suck up to each other?
Well, I like the way they suck up to each other, but I tell you, you get 20 laps into the tires and these things get a little loose. You know, guys are getting a little squiggly here and there, and it's pretty good, though. Can't complain.
Now, we have seen a lot of the two-car tandem that's come back, and it seems to have come back in force tonight. You like it? You don't like it? What's your perspective?
Well, I like it, and I seem to like that high side. I think that people got a little edge on that high side and getting a little better run, and I think that's going to be the way to go.
All right, well, thanks for talking to us. Anyone you want to thank real quick? Sponsors, that kind of good deal?
I definitely like to sponsor Sim500 and Old School Motorsports, and our sponsor for tonight's race is, I believe, something Safety Auditors, and thanks for them appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you for talking to us, man. Great job on running in fourth. Good luck in the rest of the race.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and we'll take it to a quick caution cam. Ed Williams Jr., first time tonight. He's been out in front. Let's see, will he keep it when we go back green? And we are back live here tonight. It is Ed Williams Jr. electing the top line. A little bit of an interesting choice there. What do you think?
A very interesting choice indeed, considering that low line has been the place to be on restarts. At least they've really been able to get going on that low line, and that high line kind of comes into play about 2 laps later. So that will be very interesting. It might be something where he doesn't necessarily want the lead and he'll just want to back up a bit.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. He is led 2 laps under caution. Let's see what he does under green. Green flag, back racing. And, well, there you go. He got a pretty good start. He got Chad Coleman pushing him. I'd imagine you get a good start. You get Coleman pushing you, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That push really did help him get going. But once again, that inside line just really able to continue that dominance on the restarts, and they'll be out and away better than, of course, that outside line down to 65. What will he do? I believe he'll just decide to stay on that outside line.
Yeah, he's going to stay up there. Looks like the 82 of James Small goes high. And James Small, he's going to have to try and do something all by himself. That's going to be the hard part for him right now. He's got no help. That outside line, the problem with it is it takes a minute to form up. They get going, but they get going a lot slower than the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. So at the moment, the outside line will not be a key place to be at the end of this race. That inside line really will have to, well, you'll just really have to be in that inside line is what I meant to say, at closer to the end of this race. Now, the surprising thing is, though, it can work, as we did see today in the Xfinity race. Now, different cars, of course, but that's a big thing. That outside line can really perform with about 2 to go or so. So really just keeping an eye on that outside line, seeing how that will play into effect. Now that low line just really being able to dominate so far.
Yeah, that is for sure. Look at Chad Coleman, though. He's going to go by himself at the moment, I think. He's not really having anyone wanting to go with him. Burrows stayed on the bottom. But Coleman, he made the move. He said, I'm going to go high. I think something's going to happen here with 50 laps to go. But right now, nothing happening yet. So that's Coleman in a bad spot, I'd say.
That might be Coleman in a bad spot at the moment. But like he said, there's still an opportunity to side draft or do something like that, as a lot of drivers. It's a great battle so far, still side by side with the 42 and, well, Coleman once again.
So
Coleman's been very successful on that outside line, so expect him to jump right back on that outside line as long as he has help.
Yeah, the only problem being that outside line never really gets the best of restarts, unfortunately. And that's kind of the kicker there, is that outside line never really gets away great.
They don't get away great, but after about a couple of laps, they can really come into their own, as long as there's not a back-to-back caution for them.
All right, and we are back. Looks like whatever technical demon invaded our stream for a moment has decided to pack up shop and leave. So I don't know. Really, I have no clue what happened there. And I wish I could say I knew exactly what happened and exactly what caused the problem. But unfortunately, I don't. So knock on wood, pray to whatever higher power you believe in, that we go trouble-free for the rest of the broadcast, because it is back and it's going good. So I'm going to mess around with my settings tomorrow, and I'm going to test everything extensively before the broadcast tomorrow night. But for the time being, we're back, and we're back good. So, yeah, again, I want to apologize to everyone that's been watching the stream tonight and that just had to sit through the last 10 minutes. of nothing, and I'm terribly sorry, and I hope everyone will bear with us and forgive us for that slip-up. We, like I said, I'm not sure what caused that, to be brutally honest. A lot of the times I can pin it down to an internet problem, but I did a speed test, and the speed test came back good. I don't know. I really don't. That being said, I am having problems with one of my hard drives, and I'm wondering if that might have something to do with it, although Streamlabs and iRacing are not on the hard drive that I'm having issues with, nor is my Windows installation. So I don't know if that would necessarily be an issue. But, you know, potentially it could be. At any rate, let's just be happy we're back up, and thank you all for bearing with us on the American Sim Network. You know, technology's a great thing. It works until it really doesn't. But, Jacob, what do you expect for the rest of this race here?
Well, I mean, I expect some great racing once again. Yes, there have been some cautions, but it is getting later and later into this race. We're about 40 or so laps remaining, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 35 to go, 34 at the stripe.
Exactly, there we go, about 34 to go at the stripe. So, yes, there are less and less laps to race, basically, and so, yes, we did see a big caution, and that could play a factor. We could see a couple more big cautions before really we settle down and run about those last 10 to 15 laps of green flag and maybe see a green, white, checkered or something like that as they do line up. So it should be very interesting to watch. And to answer your question, well, I expect a couple more cautions, and on this restart, that inside line to pick up speed and a lot of drivers to join that inside line, because I think that's going to be the place to be for this end of the race.
Yeah, right now, 87 out of 120 laps in. And we'll get you with that green flag. So Richard Beasley, a popular driver in the chat. Now to summarize what happened during the caution and when we were basically out of commission for a few minutes, pretty much not much. We had a decent sized crash. The caution flag came back out, and the leaders really didn't swap. So everything kind of stayed status quo from when our stream blanked to when we came back. Everyone's kind of in the same spot. Luckily for us.
I want to point one thing out. Jeffrey Ford is technically leading according to iRacing. Might be second place, but he's starting right beside David Comstock, so that should be interesting for the restart.
Right now, green flag back in the air. Good start for Jeffrey Ford, out and away.
Great start for Jeffrey Ford, but he didn't have anyone to really help him with that start, and so his start kind of went nowhere in that low line, able to pick up speed right off the bat. Look at the 28 of Richard Beasley, just able to push David Comstock alongside, and now that outside line starting to gain some momentum.
And right now, single file on the bottom. They're trying to get single file, but looks like that outside lane not letting them at the moment.
That outside line able to form up nicely and go side by side, toe to toe with that inside line. And they'll be side by side heading into, I believe, sometimes I'm lost on this racetrack, but either way, just heading into that backstretch.
Yeah, right now, Tommy Ryan, your current race leader. And Tommy Ryan just having a great show of things right now.
really exciting to see that outside line coming into form and just being able to race. Yes, they have been going back and forth, but just talking about it, having the two-lane racing basically has always been fun. Yes, three-wide racing is a blast to watch as well, but that gets very dangerous. Just in general, I mean, you never know what will happen when you go three-wide racing around here, so that two-wide racing right now has been a treat to watch, and you can see it right now with Tommy Ryan just getting a fantastic push behind him, as well as, of course, Comstock, who still leads. So those two lines really coming into play late.
And right here, 90 laps into the race. And it is all side by side. Tommy Ryan, David Comstock. It is some great racing right now, I tell you what.
Beasley kind of backed off there from the bumper. He had to most likely cool off his engine for a second there to get it back up to regular temperature so that he could go right back to his bumper and start to push once again. That allowed that outside line to gain momentum.
And right now, single file down on the bottom. Comstock trying to take the lead, not having a good time of it.
Tell you one thing, as long as both of them decide to hold that apron, hold that double yellow line, they should be in good form, because that really does benefit it when you aren't smooth on the bottom, as well as, of course, that high line. But that high line, sometimes, yes, they will get a push, but sometimes it will be effective. And look, trying for a third lane on that upper, closer to the wall lane, basically.
Yeah, Tommy Ryan right now on that outside lane, trying to make something happen if he can. And that's going to be the big question, if he can make something happen.
Look at Daniel Falkenham getting a huge push on that outside line right there. That could come into play. We could see a couple of other cars to join with them, but at the moment it's just them two.
Yeah, so Falkingham down on the bottom, or down in the middle, I should say, or on the top, rather. I'm sorry. So Falkingham way up onto the top lane of the racetrack. And Falkingham's having a pretty great show of things. And he's got Chad Coleman behind him, so I'm not surprised by that. Coleman has proved to be an excellent pusher here tonight, as we've watched him. And you can see they're still set up with a two-car tandem. I don't know what you think, but I think they got a great shot at winning.
Yeah, exactly. They really do, as well as a couple of other two-car tandems right there. I mean, the 66 and the 15, and then you got the 8 and the 8. Or check that, the 08 as well. Why I was bringing that up was because, well, they did have some distance between them, but that was technically a two-car tandem for both of them. And so that's, well, we talked about it all race, but now it's really coming into play, and, well, it's working. And that is an impressive thing to just watch, because we didn't expect coming into any of these race weekends for these two-car tandems to really just be a factor.
And right now it is David Comstock leading the way. So Comstock having a good show at the moment. Look at on the middle lane, Tommy Ryan. I tell you what, Tommy Ryan has been really impressive right now the last few laps, you know?
Most definitely. He has gotten a big push as well, which has helped him basically progress. But ever since that restart, he's really been able to keep up with the leaders and stay in that position that, well, he's gotten to since the race began. And he has a very impressive driver who is, well, coming to his own late in this race.
Yeah, right now, caution flag flies. Trying to see what happened. Oh, looks like James Small. It looks like the 65 got into James Small. What happened to the 65? That is Ed Williams Jr. Williams got around. It looks like one of the lap cars. And then that got into Small, got into Mark Cretin as well. And Josh Bonwell was involved, so an unfortunate situation. So it's an interesting situation to be in. What do you expect to happen now? Because we'll go green with under 20 to go.
Yeah, we'll go green with under 20 to go. Most likely, some drivers will be just short of fuel or something like that, and so we could see some drivers staying out and some deciding to pit. Now, it could be the works of both. I think what you do is you come down pit lane. If you have some damage left in your race car, you get maybe those fixed and not even take any fuel or something like that, because guess what? You'll also be saving fuel as well. So yes, we'll go back racing with less than 20 to go, but of course you always want to calculate. We could have a green light checkered or something of that sort. So maybe coming down to pit lane will be a smart decision.
Yeah, I think pitting right now might be a good choice, just to prepare for a green light checker, prepare for anything that might get thrown at you, as they say. But we'll see how it all gets played out. I'll let you talk to Richard Beasley. We'll get an interview in with him. And I'll let you get the interview in. We'll pull him up. And Richard Beasley from Team Names. Take it away, Jacob.
All right, Richard Beasley, how you doing?
Hey, pretty good. How's it going?
Going good up here as well. So, well, late in this race, what's your strategy?
Well, we're going to try to keep it in one piece here till the end and try to push David as much as we can. Team name, teammate. David, I think Chad's lined up behind us, and Falkingham, all four of us on the same team. So we're going to try to work together and keep it one piece here. We don't know if the time limit's going to run out or if we're going to make it to the end. We'll see, I guess.
All right. How's the car been handling for you, especially having to push Comstock throughout this last run?
It's pretty good. It was getting a little loose in the turns there as the run went on, but we got the tires we got and hope it doesn't get too much looser here.
All right, and you said basically all of y'all are going to run together. So, of course, game plan, stay in one piece. Other than that, if it comes to it, will you try and make maybe one last effort to win this race if it happens?
Oh yeah, definitely we will. In the duels, Dave and I were 1-2 coming out of 4, and we both ended up wrecking. So it may happen again.
All right. Anyone that you'd like to thank, sponsors, that sort of thing?
Yeah, Tim's Corner Motorsports. We got Tide on here. Sim500, they do a great job over here running these leagues. And all my teammates, David, Chad, Daniel.
All right, sounds good. Hopefully we'll be talking to you as well.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, and that was Richard Beasley. As we'll let him get back down with his group of guys. We'll have 20 laps to go at the stripe. We have time for one more interview. We'll talk to, who are we going to talk to? Let's talk to an outlier. Let's see. Well, let's talk to maybe 12th place driver Thomas O'Leary. I like the name. And we'll pick him up. Thomas O'Leary, have you got a copy on us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, still just over 20 to go. You'll go green with just under 20 to go. What's your perspective on it? You think you have a shot at it?
Yeah, I think I have a shot. Been working with the teammates, Tommy, Randy, and Steven. Been running with a few people, and I just think there's going to be one more wreck, and I don't really want to mix it up right this second.
All right, how's that car been handling for you the majority of the night?
It's been really good. It's got a lot of suck-up speed. I think I got one of the cleanest cars right now, so I'm looking to make a run at it, especially if this time limit comes into play.
All right, well, thank you for talking to us, man. Good luck on this restart.
Thank you.
What team do I put you back down in real quick? What team channel?
Unacceptable.
10-4. So they'll double it up. They'll go green with 19 to go. And that's the other question, Jacob. Do you see another caution happening? I'm going to go with a big yes.
And I'm going to agree with you and say yes, at least one more caution for sure. Like I said, we'll probably see a green-white checkered, if anything. Now, of course, what happened in my race on Wednesday is we went green until about 6 to go or so. We had one last caution and went back racing with 2 to go. So we could see exactly that scenario play out. There's still plenty of racing remaining, even though it is closer to the end. Still plenty of racing remaining, and most likely we'll see at least one last caution.
All right, 19 at the line. I'll let you get the green here.
Sounds great. Always fun to get these green flags. David Comstock will lead us to the green. According to iRacing, Tommy Ryan on that outside line once again. We talked to Richard Beasley. He'll be in 3rd place right here, and then Ricky Harden right beside him in 4th place. So that is, of course, your top 4 in those 2 rows. That will really matter to see how this restart will play out into effect. Pace car down and away. And we are back racing here at Daytona for maybe the final time.
And right now, great restart there for David Comstock. That's exactly what he wanted.
Exactly, got out and away, and he'll get a big push from the 28, of Richard Beasley as well on that inside line. And look at that.
Comstock
goes
jumps
up to the
high.
outside.
He knew Ryan was coming. That outside line got a great start. That lets Beasley get the bottom. That might have been a mistake. Might have been a mistake.
But like we said, those 2 car tandems have been key, and that outside line has really stuck with, well, once they've gotten going, they've stuck with the leaders, so that could also be playing to that factor here. Still going, and that will be Richard Beasley leading this lap here.
Beasley, that's the first lap he's led tonight with 18 laps to go. That's got to be in his mind that there is not a lot of race left.
No, of course.
If there's any time that's go time, I'd say now is that go time.
Yeah, 18 laps to go. We do expect at least one more caution, but yes, you know that you still will want to go for it as well. That inside line, to me, will be that key place to be, especially in front. I think Richard Beasley is in that perfect position. He's got his drafting partner as well. Yes, he hasn't necessarily worked with the 39 of Daniel Falkingham throughout this night, but he has, well, it's really been key as a 15.
Oh, there it is. Oh, man, you knew that was coming. This might very well be the biggest big one we've had yet. Look at the entire tracks blocked. This goes back to it's easier to count the drivers not involved. 15, the 89. I think O'Leary's in it. We just talked to him. He said he thought he had a shot at it and that he was trying to avoid being caught up in a wreck like that. What a crash. '78 got a piece of it. That's Jared Ryan. Or Jeff Ryan, rather. Randy Yoakum, Ed Burrell, and John Wilco as well, all wound up in this crash. What set it off? That's the question. Did Randy Yoakum go around? That's what I want to know. No, looks like the 15 got into Chad Coleman because the 15 got loose. Jeffrey Ford got a piece of it as well. And then who's in the 15 car?
Ricky Harden.
Yep. And man, we were talking to Harden, who, you know, he won his duel, and he was looking to have a good run here tonight. Good run no more, unfortunately. We'll ride on board Robert Dudley. That's the 49 car. And you can see on board with Dudley here and watch what happens. Massive chaos is what ensues this crash. What a crash. I mean, I tell you, like I said, easier to count the drivers not involved. You had drivers have to go through the pit lane. Like the 08 machine. Well, the 08, that is Thomas O'Leary. And we'll ride on board O'Leary. You see what happens to him. You know, we just talked to him. He was on the outside, and he got caught up in it into Jeff Ford. I tell you what, man, you want to talk about pure chaos? That crash.
Exactly. Took out most of the field here, especially from great runners who were staying in the back to avoid exactly that, especially, well, you had 18 laps remaining and they were probably going to make their way to the front. Just bad luck happening to force the 15, like we said, of Ricky Harden getting loose. And just, of course, it's always the worst feeling in the world when you cause that wreck. And, of course, just bad luck here. And some drivers' days will end prematurely, if they'll call it that.
Yeah, well, the lucky thing for some of the drivers that didn't get caught up in it is they'll have probably about 13 laps to go when we go green.
I can tell you one thing. All these drivers, especially David Comstock's hearts must be pounding. It's getting so late into this race. Like we said, we'll go back racing about 13 laps remaining, and, well, just those nerves every single lap from then on out, just they get a bit bigger. Yes, you have to stay calm in those situations, but you know, well, you can taste it. It's right there to A, finish up that race, and B, you'll probably have an opportunity to make a move and maybe end up winning this one from basically the top 5 onward, or even the top 10 onward. You might be thinking to yourself, wow, I really do have an opportunity to win this one. So the nerves do start to build, and, well, it just gets more and more intense from then on.
And right now, 13 to go when we take the stripe, and they're not even on 1 to go yet, so it'll probably be closer to 12 or 10 laps to go when we take the green. Well, at this point, who's your pick to win?
Well, at this point, I think I will have to go. I think Beasley will pull it off, or check that. Actually, no, I'm going to go with Daniel Falkingham. Falkingham has been right there as well. He kind of moved up. He's the one that was on that outside line, almost with a 3 wide pack as well. One thing also to mention, 1 hour, 56 minutes in to this session of a 2 hours and 0-minute session. So it will be close for them to finish this race up. They might not even be able to get those 13 laps in, just to let you all know.
I was about to say, you're right. I wasn't thinking about the time constraint. That is true as well. So this race might end on a time delay. Or on a time limit, I should say. And how much time exactly do you have left?
About 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes actually. Lights need to go out on the pace car at least now for them to have a bit of a shootout.
Well, call it rain, call it approaching storms. You know?
Exactly, they knew that it was close. That's really also why, yes, of course, 15 did get loose, but that's one thing to just think about, that it was just going to get more and more crazier.
Hectic. Yeah, so
Exactly,
call it approaching rainstorms. Gonna cause potentially cause a delay, cause the race to end shortened here. If you want to, keep the simulation going, you know what I mean?
Exactly, as the lights on the pace car are out, so we will get at least maybe 1 or 2 to go.
This is gonna be where things get intense. These drivers are racing for glory, and they're racing for glory with very limited time left as so-called, shall we say, rain approaches the area. And it'll be David Comstock, Richard Beasley, Tommy Ryan, Daniel Falkenham, Doug Roth, Chris Nadwork. Again, I'm terribly sorry about that name. Gerald West, Dustin German, and Stephen Burnett, and Josh Bonwell, your top 10. Well, Jacob, here's the question. What do you think's going to happen next?
Well, everyone's going to be fighting for a race win. I think it's no more teammates for this top 3 to top 4, and I think Richard Beasley will try to get this race win, as well as, of course, the 66 of Tommy Ryan. Not to count out the 42 of David Comstock. They're all going to be trying for a win, so you're going to see a lot of bump drafting for the end of this one, especially with this restart could make the difference.
Here you go, pace car down. This will probably be the final restart of the night. We're green. 12 laps to go. Will they race all 12? That is the question. David Comstock, Daniel Falkingham got a great start. Richard Beasley, Thomas Ryan up on the high line. Comstock's going to go high. He's going to say he wants to hold on to this race lead any means necessary. That opens the door for Falkingham. 3 wide now at the front of the field. Can you blame them? They are all racing as hard as they can. They know what's at stake. They know there's not a lot of time to determine it either. David Comstock battling on the outside. Daniel Falkingham on the bottom. Richard Beasley has fallen back to 6th. And with no help behind him, he may very quickly turn into a non-contender. But I think he's going to be able to maintain a draft. 10 laps to go at the stripe. What do you think happens here, Jacob?
Well, we have also hit the 2-hour mark, so we'll see what happens there. But Falkingham at the moment has a lead. They're just going to go side by side. And I think whoever gets the bigger push down this front stretch could end up being the race winner. Now, I could be wrong, and we could be racing the rest of this race. But at the moment, the session has technically come to a close. As we cross the start-finish line, we are going to the end.
They might get 1 to go, not yet. So it looks like they will go to the end. 10 laps to go. 3 wide. Look at Comstock. He's stuck in the middle. He's got no help.
Got no help for a second. But look at that. The 38 has come to the rescue.
And by the way, By the way, look at what's winning the race right now. Not the driver, but look at the strategies that are winning the race. What are the top 6 doing? What are all those guys doing right now?
Looks like there's two cars
two-car
behind them.
tandems. All 2-car tandems up there leading the show. 9 more laps to go.
Well, as you said that, they go
they form
to 3
up.
cars at least.
Yeah, but for a moment they were all 2-car trains.
Yep.
Well, look further back. Look at Gerald West. Look at West and German. They're a 2-car group, and they're closing in on the leaders. They might win this race. They are quickly putting themselves. They have caught that lead pack. They are in contention. David Comstock goes low to block, and he's going to play every angle of the speedway he can.
It's a smart move, but also a very dangerous move at the same time. And what I mean by that is because, well, you never know what can happen. Some bad luck could happen, and you could go spinning into the infield. So that's
he
something
almost
to watch
did.
out for.
I don't know if you saw that, but he almost did when he passed by. Final lap of the race now. They won't go to the end. This race will end about 4 laps early. Call it bad weather in the area, bad weather on the radar. They'll have to call it early due to weather. And it is going to be a fight to the end. Final lap, David Comstock. There's a big wreck there. Comstock doesn't have a lot of help. Daniel Falkingham, well, he's your race leader. I don't know if he holds it. Richard Beasley is pushing. It's going to be a 2-car tandem there, a 3-car tandem on the top. I don't know what you would call that. That's not a tandem. But it is going to be David Comstock gonna go. He will win at Daytona. Beasley second. Tommy Ryan third. Falkingham fourth. 5th place, Ricky Harden, Brian Wertman, Bonwell, Ritter, Burnett, Coleman, West, Watkins, Warnk, Wetzel, Roth, Wilco, Yarrow, Burrow, German, O'Leary, Fallon, Small, Ford, Sigmund, Yoakum, Schoonover, Stevens, Rhine, Cristiano, Dudley, Beach, Bass, Haring, Williams, Cretan, Campbell, Gatina, Macklin, Surfs, Strayer, rounding out your field. I tell you what, could you have expected, or could you have predicted, I should say, such an exciting finish?
Well, considering how the racing had been, we had seen those 2-car tandems, we had seen how they worked. I wouldn't say you would predict it, but you would kind of expect it as well. That was very exciting at the end. Congratulations to Comstock. He deserved it. He was leading most of this race, especially late in the stage, and he led it when he needed to and defended it really well.
Yeah, it looks like the running order getting all cycled around here. David Comstock, of course, your race leader, a race winner. We'll pull him up to be interviewed. And the race, unfortunately, being shortened due to a time constraint in the server or bad weather, depending on, how you want to play the simulation card.
It was worth.
But David Comstock, man, oh man, you're the winner here tonight. How's that feel?
Holy crap. I'm just survived. I'm just glad I let alone survived it. I didn't wreck myself there with like 2 to go down the back when I was blocking pretty much the whole field there. So hate that we didn't get it all the way through on as far as the time goes. But hats off to everybody else that were able to get to the white flag and get to the checkered there on the green.
Yeah, great job there. You finished first, and then you had, I think second place was, who was second? I think it was Ryan, and then you had your teammate pushing you, and your teammate wound up third, I think, in that whole ordeal. But, I mean, what a finish. Did you expect to win here tonight?
Yeah, it was Beasley, Coleman. We had Bill Schoonover, who suffered some damage, so he was kind of just trying to log laps and get back on the lead lap. But yeah, with Beasley's help, we showed what we can do in the duels, and I wrecked us coming to the checkered, and was hoping that wasn't going to be the case because I was looking to do about the same thing and be more aggressive with it coming to the line with whatever we need to do. And Coleman did a hell of a job giving me a shove when I got put in the sucker there and left in the middle. Everybody ganged up around me. So appreciate everyone over at Team Name, all of our hard work here to get ourselves the opportunity for not only for myself, but Beasley had a shot. Coleman kept himself up there, had a shot. So just an all around good team effort.
All right. Well, anyone you want to thank, sponsors, that kind of thing?
Yeah, everybody at Team Name, all their support and effort we got put in for this year here in 2020, and sponsoring the car, racingbiz.com. For those of you that aren't aware, if you go to Facebook, search up racingbiz.com, we got live auctions that of racing memorabilia or sports memorabilia that goes for auction, signed diecast, T-shirts, you name it, they got stuff on there, trading cards. Live auctions that go on every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So go check them out online at racingbiz.com as well as on Facebook. JD Laird, JDR Graphics for Paint My Car. You guys for broadcasting, Coastal Safety Coastal Safety Auditors for sponsoring our series here, and Sim500, all the admins putting on the leagues that we have here. Appreciate all you guys. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Touch, man. Great job on the win.
Thanks.
All right, and Jacob, I'll let you talk to our second place finisher, that being Richard Beasley. Take it away.
Richard Beasley, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Well, coming home with a second place finish here at Daytona. What did you expect really coming into that final lap?
Well, I was going to try to push Chad through the middle there, and then they all got together, and the seas kind of parted, so to speak, and I wound up right behind David there, and then I just laid in it and pushed him all the way the rest of the way.
Sounds like a plan right there. How was the car handling towards the end of the race?
It was still a little slicker. Our tires were pretty worn. It had been a while since we changed them. Probably about 40, 50 laps, so they were pretty slick there towards the end.
All right, and well, how's this momentum going to help you coming into Las Vegas for next week?
This is huge. This is what we wanted to do. We wanted to come here and get a decent finish. Knew it was going to be a restrictor plate, so it's kind of a crapshoot. And I'd say mission accomplished. And we got some momentum going into the next week, and we'll just try to keep it going there.
All right, sounds good. Of course, anyone that you'd like to thank, sponsors, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Tim's Corner Motorsports, all the guys over at Team Name, David, Chad, Bill Schoonover, all those guys. We all tried to work together tonight, and it seemed to work out pretty good. We were all there in contention at the end, and we'll just try to keep that going in the next week.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to us, and hopefully next week we'll be talking to you in Victory Lane.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, last up on the interview block, it is Tommy Ryan. Tommy, what did you think of the race here tonight, man? I mean, you had a great run here.
It's about survival, man. I tried to wait till the end to really try to get going there, and I had a teammate behind me, Ricky Harden. We had the Coastal Safety Auditors Camaros, man, rolling the top side, but man, we couldn't get it to materialize. It was just bad timing. I'm not sure what it was, but when me and him get hooked up, man, we're usually pretty lethal.
All right, well, how'd the track handle for you here tonight? It changed a little bit over the course of the race, I'm sure, but what did you think of it?
I mean, handling was not really an issue. It wasn't really tight or loose or anything like that. You just, it's all about just holding your line.
Now, were you a fan of the two-car tandems, or what was your opinion on that?
I am, as long as the guy that's pushing can, is not behind on his steering and whatnot. I saw a lot of that going on, and I think that was maybe a cause of a lot of the cautions that we had, which were pretty unacceptable. But overall, I think the thing drove great. It was just pretty much the guy behind the wheel and how much, experience and brains he had on when it was time to go or not. But it was just a strategy thing just to try to survive there at the end and then go for it, and that's where we were. And luckily I got a third place finish. Hopefully, I wish I would have won the thing, but just didn't have enough help, I guess.
All right, well, thanks for talking to us, man. Any sponsor you want to thank?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Coastal Safety Auditors, Patriot Fire, Northern Tool and Equipment. Northern Tool always has sales and free shipping, $49 or less. So you guys always keep an eye on that. And we have some really good sales coming up. Spring's going to be breaking pretty soon. So always keep an eye out on our website. And thank you guys for putting this on. Joey Katina, Jody Green for adminning, and it's a fun league. Not our best showing tonight, but everybody will be back next Saturday night. It's a 43 car field, so we'll try to clean it up.
All right, thanks for talking to us, man, and thank you to everyone for tuning in tonight. Again, folks, sorry for the technical difficulties a little bit earlier in the stream. We got those resolved, and I'll be working on everything here over the course of tomorrow afternoon to get it all perfect for tomorrow night for the FEG Grand National Series. We'll see you then, everybody.